is he coming up with this? Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. A bitch is back talking about books, and today we are actually going to be talking about Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. I'm so excited to be talking about this book. I will try to do this review, but honestly, not gonna lie, I forgot a lot of things that happened in this book because I read it a month ago and I'm doing the review now. So I need to refresh a little bit and understand everything, but sorry I've been a little MIA. It's summer, you know, so I've just been busy with a lot of things in my regular schmegular life, but I'm back now trying to pump some videos out for you. I have some things planned. If you follow my Goodreads, if you look at my Goodreads, you're gonna kind of know. I always keep it updated. You will know what I'm reading and most likely will know what kind of books I will be doing reviews on. I'm just gonna get right into the review. It's gonna be pretty short and sweet just because I read it so long ago. I don't know a lot of plot points, but I remember what I felt while reading this book. Let's do overall general review. What I felt reading this book was kind of bored. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I think I gave it like a 2.5 out of 5 stars. It just was literally not my favorite Ali Hazelwood book. It's actually my least favorite Ali Hazelwood book. If you know who Ali Hazelwood is, she is known for writing feminist romance novels that have strong female characters in STEM and in the science field. This book is part of that. This is the 4th book in that series. She has The Love Hypothesis, she has Love on the Brain, Love Theoretically, and this is Not in Love, okay? So this is going back to her roots. But also in the same instance, this is a book that is the exact, I don't know how you explain that, like the contradiction, a mirrored version of what Ali Hazelwood usually likes to write when she's writing. I think right now with Ali Hazelwood, she is in her experimental phase, and we will get into why while I review this book. If you know anything about Ali Hazelwood, you either love her or you hate her. She writes a lot of cringy banter, which I eat up. I love feeling secondhand embarrassment while reading a book, especially a rom-com, because those are where the funny moments are. Those things where you're like, oh, you kind of cringe, but it's like funny and giddy and goofy. That is very much what kind of books Ali Hazelwood loves to write and the type of banter she writes. That's one thing you will always get with her books. A second thing you will always get is pretty good commentary when it comes to women in STEM. And this book still has that. Thirdly, we get longing. This is the thing that really draws me towards an Ali Hazelwood book because I always get so many butterflies reading her book. No matter if it's an okay book or it's one of my favorite of her books, I always get longing. The guys in her books, the male leads in her books, always are utter simps for the female leads. You can see it in their eyes. They are utterly whipped for her. They will do anything for her. They worship the ground that she walks on, but is just too shy or too emotionally unavailable to say it. The amount of tension and longing we get, how it makes me feel in my gut, is the reason why I love these books. It's the fact of wanting something but you can't have it, or you feel like you shouldn't have it. That's what I love in a romance novel, and that is one of the things that Ali Hazelwood does best. It's the longing. The things that she is not really that good at is honestly intimate scenes. She writes them in a little bit of a sterile way, and we will get into it in a little bit more. She usually won't write erotic romances. They are rom-coms, so there will be 1 or 2 out of the entire book intimate scenes, and that's it for the entire book. This one, I labeled all of the intimate scenes in dark purple. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dark purples, as you can see based on that alone. It is a much different book than what we are usually used to while reading Ali Hazelwood. She writes in the very beginning of the book, she says, "Dear reader, I just wanted to drop a quick note to let you know that Not in Love is tonally a little different from the works I published in the past. Rue and Eli have dealt with and still deal with the fallout from issues such as grief, food insecurity, and child neglect," which I think personally those topics that she touched upon were really well done. I won't give her credit for that. The food insecurity things, the grief things, I think she did really well. They are eager to make a connection but are not sure how to go about it except through physical relationship. The result is, I think, less of a rom-com and more of an erotic romance. Rue and Eli's story has, of course, a happily ever after, but it also contains some serious themes, and I wanted to give you a heads up so you know what to expect. Ali Hazelwood herself has said this is more of an erotic romance than it is a rom-com. Being an erotic romance, I just don't think she's as good at it. That's why I gave the book a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Okay, let me say this. I love that as a writer, she is opening up her bubble. There are some things that work with her, right? You know what you're gonna get in an Ali Hazelwood book. People know her for certain things. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But I also don't necessarily agree with that statement, especially in a creative field like writing and storytelling. If this is her experimental phase, this is something that she wanted to try and wanted to write, and I applaud her for going outside the box, writing a fantasy novel like Bride, writing Not in Love that is more of an erotic novel than the rom-coms that truly, especially with how book talk and TikTok is nowadays, a lot of romances and rom-coms are copy and pasted. We have a lot of the same copy and pasted scenes, and I like that she's not really written a full book with more of an erotic tone to it. She wanted to try it and she did it and she published it. So I truly applaud her for that, and that she didn't just stick with what she knew worked and she wanted to experiment and go out and try this new thing. Even though I applaud her for it, it still doesn't mean that it worked, okay? It still doesn't mean that it's a great book. It still doesn't mean that I enjoyed myself while reading it. Okay, I'll just say that, but I do applaud her for going out there and trying this, and I would love to see more authors do that too, and I think Ali Hazelwood did a really good job with that. It is my least favorite of Ali Hazelwood's works, just due to the fact that it was missing that longing that I truly needed. And that is the one thing that she did really well. And she put more excessively in this book the thing that she does the least well, which is the eroticism, right? But let's get into the details of this book. The little nitpickies, my likes, dislikes, everything that I thought about the book. What is Not in Love about? Not in Love follows two main characters, obviously, the romance, is Rue Siebert, who's the main love interest, as well as Eli Kilgore. It is a workplace enemies to lovers. It is a hookup to lovers romance. It's also black cat, girlfriend, golden retriever, boyfriend book trope. Rue. Let's talk about Rue. I love that differently from a lot of romance books, Ali decided to stray away from having the dainty, tiny, short, tiny woman, because Rue is tall. And I feel like we need more taller women in books, okay? I love that Rue's tall, and it's a thing in this book. Instead of being like, he was a mountain of a man and I was just a tiny woman and he consumed me. I love that we get tall women representation in this book. Let's give a shout out to my tall girls out there. I think that they deserve love too, and I'm glad we have Rue as tall girl representation, okay? I think it is truly needed, because the height difference in a lot of these romance books sometimes is really irksome to me, so I'm glad that she's tall. Let's talk about Eli Kilgore. Ali Hazelwood, how did she know? How did she know that I'm looking for a guy in finance, 6'5", blue eyes, was gonna blow up? Because that is word for word what Eli is. Take that sound. I'm looking for a guy in finance, 6'5", blue eyes. That is Eli, straight up. He is a guy in finance, he's tall as hell, probably 6'5", has blue eyes, I think. Either way, those are two main characters. It is Rue Siebert and Eli Kilgore. The book starts off with both of them meeting for a one-night stand. They don't go through with it, but they do meet up that night because something happens in between, but they hit it off. There's a lot of chemistry, and he really likes her, she really likes him. Usually it's a one-night stand thing. They never see each other again, but they didn't even, have sex that night. They made an impression on each other. That was a really good impression, even though they didn't really sleep together. They have their first meeting. The next day happens. Probably 12 hours later, because they met at night and then the next day happens in the morning. The day after they meet up for their one-night stand that never happened, they just met up and talked, Rue goes to work and bam, there's a hostile takeover of the company that she works for. Walks into the room saying, they're trying to take over our company. Who are these horrible corporate finance people? They're trying to take over our lab. Who are these evil people? Walks into the room, bam, Eli's sitting right there. It's Eli's company. It's Eli's group that's trying to have a hostile takeover of the company that Rue works for. So yeah, it is true enemies. It is true enemies, workplace enemies. He's trying to ruin the company that she works for, and she truly cares about the work that she is doing at this company. The entire book, plot-wise, goes into the motivations as to why Eli would ever want to do this. Why would he want to destroy this company, and what are his motives, what are his intentions? But we soon find out that there are hidden motives, and it has to do with Rue's boss. The reason why I didn't like this book is because I didn't like Eli. He is my least favorite Ali Hazelwood book boyfriend. There's things about him that I didn't really like. One, he's bossy as hell, and not bossy in an endearing way. He's just straight up bossy, and I understand. Okay, you guys don't get it. I read a lot of books, and I know. Sometimes, especially recently, I have been kind of negative when it comes to my reviews as of recently. I've just been a little bit more not liking the books that I've been reading. But truly, I have read a lot of books, a lot of romance books, and I have read controlling men. I have read men who are utter red flags, but there is something in the way that it is written, the way that they are controlling, usually mafia romances, dark romances, whatever it may be, that makes sense, that still makes you feel giddy on the inside, right? Like, oh my god. It's because the way that men are controlling in those books is in an endearing way. It's because he is absolutely feral for the women in the book. The men who are super controlling in those books, bossy in those books, telling her what to do, it's done in an endearing way, usually because they want to keep them safe and they want to keep them away from harm, or they're really jealous. I know that's a toxic trait, but at least it has to do with the fact that it's because they love her, and that is why they are acting the way they are acting, and they can't control themselves. There's something endearing in that. I'm not saying it's healthy in the slightest. I'm saying that as a reader and reading it, it makes sense. But the way that Eli is bossy and controlling just did not make any sense to me, especially coming out of his mouth. And it was sometimes just borderline funny, and a lot of the lines of dialogue in this were just out of nowhere, especially in the intimate scenes, and I'll get into one later. Even the banter was not bantering in this book. They had this sort of it ends with us type of thing where they would have these naked truths in it ends with us. They would have their own version of naked truths in this book, being like, oh, just be super honest with me, tell me everything that you're thinking and be super honest. And then they'll go into a backstory that's so tragic, and I know that's their thing, and I know that that can be done really well. It just really wasn't done well for me in this book. It just felt out of nowhere, and it felt really random, and it doesn't really hit home for the reader. I've read super depressing books. It just wasn't executed well in here. It had all the right parts in this book, just execution-wise, it didn't hit the mark, and I was bored throughout the entire book. When it comes to Eli's bossiness, there is one time, very end of the book, where it's a third act conflict, then they're making up. It says, "What do you want, Rue?" he asks. "I'm trying to articulate it, but I'm not very good at it." No way, really? Sarcasm, right? Her pale cheeks flushed. "Say what you want to say and do it now," he ordered. "You have 2 minutes. I'm sorry? What? Say what you want to say and do it now. You have 2 minutes. Where is this 2 minutes coming from? What? Why am I on a timeline? She's saying she cannot articulate the fact that she loves you. This was just one moment where he's just being bossy randomly. And he does this a lot. Like, he'll just randomly be super bossy to her, and it makes no sense. And I'm just like, why is he saying this? You have 2 minutes to tell me what you're thinking. I was like, whoa, relax. Where is this timeline coming from? What? Like, can you relax? There's already a lot of pressure on me to open up and articulate my feelings, and I'm literally opening up to you right now and telling you it's hard for me to articulate my feelings, and you're only giving me 2 minutes. And then right after that, she says she wastes 30 seconds just glancing around. I don't know. I was just, the dialogue of that and him saying it like that felt out of nowhere. Say what you want to say and do it now. You have 2 minutes. I'm like, I'm sorry, coach. 2 minutes to run laps? Let me go. Like, that's what it felt like when reading his bossy lines in this book. This came out of nowhere. Maybe that's the calm in this rom-com. I know it's not supposed to be a calm, but sometimes it was a calm. Sometimes it was funny, and it was in scenes like that. And let's get back to the eroticism. Because Ali Hazelwood is not super strong at writing intimate scenes, she only has 1 or 2 of them in all of her other books. Because most of this book are erotic scenes was just kind of boring. And all of the intimate scenes, there was nothing special about them and they were all forgettable. Next week, I am doing a review talking about another book that I feel like the erotic scenes were super memorable, and I will give examples next week as to why those were memorable. This just was not memorable to me. You could take out all of the intimate scenes in here, and truly, I feel like the book wouldn't change that much, or the way the relationship dynamic wouldn't change that much. And that's not what I really like when it comes to erotic romance. I love erotic romance where, especially in something like, was it Wretched by Emily McIntyre? The guy is super dominant and the girl isn't, but then he finally gives her the opportunity to be dominant because it's something that she truly needs, and they do it, and it's just a really great intimate scene, and it moves the plot and the story and the romance forward. All of these kind of don't do that, and I just don't truly remember any of the erotic scenes in here because the scenes, also the way that she writes it, feels sterile. Feels kind of awkward to me. They're sharing stories about their first time while it's their first time doing it together. And the dialogue of it just does not come out naturally. I do like the fact that they consider non-penetrative acts to still be sex. I really love that they solidified that in this book. But by the halfway point of the book, nothing happens, and I was just really bored. They hook up once, the scene was drawn out for like 10 to 15 pages, and then after that, nothing happens. The main mystery of the entire hostile takeover plot is on why Rue's boss is so bad. But that specific mystery could have been explained to her so much earlier in time, and there was no reason for him to not explain it to her because he had so many opportunities to. It was really just trying to drag it on for as long as possible until the third act conflict was gonna come, and then he said, okay, let me explain to you why I don't like your boss and why I want to take over her company. Because of that, it was just kind of boring. There's nothing else going on with the plot. And in a romance, what is the plot? The plot is the romance, right? The plot is how they fall in love with each other. It's the journey, it's the butterflies in your stomach. This book decided to do the romance in a way that was very physical. I've read so many really physical books, but I think because it was just so dry and there was no chemistry and no tension in any of those scenes, the story was moving at a snail's pace. Let's talk about the dialogue even in these intimate scenes. Tell me why I laugh so hard. This is the calm in this rom-com, okay? Because it's the fact that he will just say things out of nowhere. This is one of those times. This is on page 215. They are in the process of doing the deed. They're about to do it. They're in the process. He says, "Are you okay with me holding you down? Like this." Heat bloomed in my stomach, blood rushed to my cheeks, but I nodded. "If you change your mind, just ask me to let go." "I won't." He scanned my face. "I'm serious. If you don't like something I'm doing, you'll tell me immediately." And see, that I get. I like that kind of controlling, and that's not really that bad. She goes, "I'm down for whatever." "Really? For whatever?" he says. I nodded. "So I can press you into the mattress right now and fuck your ass without lube?" Please, what is that? Where is he coming up with this? He just says that. I feel like that was meant to be funny. That was so funny to me. I literally laughed out loud, cackling at that. Because he just says it out of nowhere. They're literally talking about consent. It is supposed to be a super intimate scene where, like, oh my god, they're talking about safe words, they're talking about, does that sound good? They're communicating to each other. "I'm gonna hold you down like this, are you okay with that? Like, if you change your mind, just please, you have to let me know. I need to know you're comfortable with me." And she goes, "I'm really, like, I'm okay, I want to do it, please, I want to do it." And he goes, "Oh, you'll do whatever, so I'll f you in the ass without lube." I'm like, damn! I'm sorry, what? It's also funny because in that scene, he's a half-stroke wonder. She really got magical punani, okay? TMI, but I just find that hilarious, okay? We're all adults here, I hope. You better be. And I just don't like the dirty talk in this book. It makes me cringe, and not cringe in a good way, cringe in a bad way. There are a lot of things you can get away with because you are writing the story in book form. Things like 365 DNI, it's cringy as hell, it's scary as hell, it's creepy as hell because we see it in film form. Dirty talk in books, you can easily get away with a lot of things. A lot of things. The things that they write in books, you cannot say that out loud and it sound as erotic as it does in a book. Like, you just can't do that. But in this book, it truly shows how cringy all of these lines are. On page 255, they're literally in the process of, you know, getting it on when his pelvis came into full contact with mine and his slid as deep as I could take him, right to the hilt. I let out a low, guttural groan. Yeah, you really are an amazing aren't you? Yeah, you really are an amazing aren't you? I guess so. It just sounds so cringy. It's not a flattering statement. Like, the statement sounds so weird. Just to close out this video, the thing that this book is truly missing is longing. I think all of the least strong things that Ali Hazelwood does is put in here, and the most strong things that she does is not in here. And I think that's the reason why I didn't enjoy myself, and that's the reason why I was really bored reading this book, and that is why I gave it a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Ali Hazelwood is good at longing. There was not really that much longing in here at all. She is not that good at intimate scenes, and there's a lot of intimate scenes in here. All the side characters are unmemorable. I think this entire book was unmemorable. I'm really sad to say that, but I really wish I liked it. It just didn't hit the mark for me. And due to those factors, that's why this was just kind of not my favorite book. So yeah, that's kind of my review for that. Please, if you loved it, if you liked this book, let me know about it and tell me about why you liked it. I'd love to hear about it. Just let me know all your thoughts. If you hated this book, tell me about your thoughts on that too. I always love to hear what you guys say. Overall, out of all the Ali Hazelwood book boyfriends, he's my least favorite. I'm not looking for a guy in finance, 6'5", blue eyes, if it's gonna be Eli. He wasn't swoon worthy to me, okay? So yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. I tried to remember all the things that I could about the book, but that's basically it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.